Hi guys, it's Jamie, and I got a request from one of the viewers to make the armadillo. So have you ever had a project where it just became too complicated in the end? You made a couple and then you're like, I'm done, never want to do that again. So I don't think I saved anything from this project, like as far as, you know, measurements from these pieces. So in looking back, I'm not opposed to doing this again. I'm just going to have to deconstruct it to figure out the sizes needed, and then I can show you how I put it together. It's kind of a fun project, but there's so many pieces, and I'm going to try to simplify it. So if I'm going to deconstruct and go do this again, let's first talk about how it was constructed. So first off, you have the bottom foundation part, which has the little legs, the feet on it, and then you can see right here it's got a slit in it, and there is a piece of clay that sits down inside of it, and then from there these rings attach to that, and then the head is attached to that middle piece in there sticking out, and then the tail, if you want to look closely there, this is a separate piece that I added on and glaze glued together. So, you know, from the top looking down, it's not really apparent that that's what happened. But to me, when I was thinking about firing this, I just thought, this thing is sticking way out. What a nightmare. It's going to break off in the bisque firing and in the greenware somewhere. It's just the most vulnerable spot. So that's why I chose to do it that fashion. And I still might do it again, but what I would probably do differently this time is, I don't know that I would keep the bottom flat. I think I might make it arch from foot to foot. I'm still going to do the same method of connecting these, and then I'll show how to make these ribs that go on here. So anyway, let's get started for deconstruction. So first off, these are circles under here, and I needed to figure out what size circles to use. So I took my my cutter set, and I just took every other one and kind of lined them up, and that's kind of the gradation I want. So these are the cutters that I'm going to use. My armadillo will be using these circles, which it might be a little bit bigger than what I used originally. It just means my body needs to be a little bit bigger. So for me to understand the ribs here, what size this needs to be, I need to know these measurements. So this is my homework for tonight, is, you know, draw these out, measure them, and then figure out the strips that go around each one. The other thing that's going to happen with these as I put them on here is that they're going to have openings too. So in addition to finding out the size of the strip that goes around, I have to figure out, you know, what is the opening for these guys. And once I do this, then I'll have my pattern and I won't have to do it again because this time I'll save it. Anyway, that's part one. See you back for part two. Hey, so day 2 of my quest to reproduce this, and I'm realizing that all my recordings from last night, they're bogus. It's really this size I want to be for my biggest one, so I will just go with these measurements and discard this. So now the other thing too is I just measured what this is, and right now it's 6 inches. And so 6 inches with, so I'm not counting the end of the face, I'm just counting this little part that comes out. When you look at the shrinkage ruler, it's 6 3/4. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this part right now, and then I think I still will keep the tail separate, and then I'll add on the head. So we'll see how far I get along today. Maybe I'll finish it, maybe not. The body, I'm going to use a stoneware clay called Katinka. There it is. Katinka, I think Katinka is how it's spelled. Anyway, this is from East Bay Clay. So the other clay body that this was probably made from originally was probably Sculpture Raku from Clay Planet. So that's another solid clay for structural work. Before, when I did this, I did a slab. I'm going to try using a coil. So I know for here, I have a little tongue piece. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out here. This I might save for the little feet. And then in the back end, I'm going to do something different than I did here. So I'll just round this out for right now. The other thing too is I have a slot down the middle, so I can just cut away that slot. So I'm cutting away a 1/4 inch. The other thing I wanted to do with this one is to give it a slight curve. Let's see if I have something I can do that with. So let's add some feet, shall we? So I'm keeping this to measure the bottom of the slot that will fit in here. All right, so the bottom is done so far. I'm going to let that sit outside and firm up a teeny bit. So this clay is B-Mix with grog. It's from a different project, but I'm going to use it inside to be this portion here. So I just need a curved thing, kind of like that. And it's going to fit in the slot there. So let's cut that. That's where that's going. Decided to take a 1/2 inch off instead. So here I am again, working on the armadillo, and I'm doing something. I think I need to focus on the face and the ears next and the tail, and I really don't want to. I really want to do the fun part, which is this. But to do this, I actually need to have the strips set up. So I'm going to cut 6 strips, and I figured out the size of them by looking at my measurements here. So originally, that size is out, it's too big. So this size is, so I need a 7 3/4 strip at, I'm going to go with 1 1/8. And so I need, what, 3 of those? No, 1 of those. And then the other one is this one, which is 5. So I'm just probably going to do a 8-inch strip 1, and then 3 6-inch strips, and then 2, well, these are close to 6-inch too, so I'll just do that and cut away the excess. All right, I'm gonna, normally what I would do is, if I'm gonna make this over and over again, I'll create a template. But today is just gonna be the painful cutting the strips, unless I can find something that equals 1/8. Hey, that will work. All right, I'm just gonna use this. It's always good to have a couple extra, so I'm just going to keep those around. About 6 inches. All right, to put the grooves in the tail, so I'm doing head and tail. And obviously I'm putting the head off. I'm not looking forward to doing the head. So I'm doing the tail first. These are Noki boards. So when this firms up a little bit, I'll put a notch in it because it's gonna go right in there. Actually, I could probably do that now. So see how I have a hook there now? And that hook can go into that. Okay, so I made a little conical shape. And now I'm gonna start pinching in. So where I pinched in on the back, I'm just gonna cut away that excess clay. And maybe cut at an angle down there like that. So now it looks like that. And this one has to, whoa. It has this little nodule here that it's going to sit on. So maybe what I'll do to start is once I have this initial shape, I'm going to use this again and just kind of go over it and press down. That's what the back side looks like. All right, this is way too long, so now I'm going to cut off. First of all, let me just press this in, cut off maybe there. That's looking better. Just going to round it off. And now I need to do the eyeballs, and so to do that, I'm going to maybe just use the end of the skewer to kind of go in and create a space. And while I have the skewer, I'm going to put the ears in. This one I'm going to open up much bigger. I don't have much definition around for the mouth or anything, so I'm just going to do, I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just leave that alone. And let's finish the eyeballs. Now that I have this, I'm just gonna stick that in there. And let's give it some lids. Okay. Looks like angry armadillo. Anyway, now I'm gonna work in the lids to smooth out. I think that'll do. So the holes for the ears, I'm going to add the ears in after I have it on here. And so now let's just get the ears ready. It's going to serve you better if the ears are set up and to be more leather hard. So to do the ears, I'm taking a small coil and I'm cutting it. And now I'm going to round out one of the edges, kind of bring it more to a tip. And then once you have that, I'm going to make the bottom of the earpiece be much thinner. These are way big. I'm gonna trim back this part some more. But for right now, this is good. And now I'm gonna get a tool that I need to like kind of scoop the inside of the ear. So to do that, you can use a ball tool. I'm going to use this tapered piece right here, and I'm just going to press in like that. I'm just working my way down. Cool. Ears are done. Those are just going to set up for a little bit. Now, do I like that face? That face is okay. I think the nose is a little bit more pointy on my original. That works. I'm ready to attach. I'm switching to a bigger board now. This little guy won't do. And the more that I can resist picking him up, the better. So before I put on the head, I think what I'm going to do is get rid of this support here. While I got it upside down, I will go ahead and sign it ahead of time. Just taking a little bit of extra clay and putting it on the bottom to cover the seam. All right, next up would be, when these are ready, I'm going to let them sit up a little bit more. I'm going to put them in here. Well, that wasn't so bad. I was not looking forward to doing the head, but I think that's okay. So I got the head, the body, this little piece, and now the fun part, which is doing the textures for these. So I'll put this aside and come back. Deciding what textures to use, that can be a chore. All right, this will be my main texture for the main back here. So I'm just going to roll this. Those are my strips. I'm going to choose 6 of these to go on the armadillo. And before I do anything else, I'm just going to let them set up outside for maybe 10-15 minutes. Get their textures locked in before I do some modifications. So that wasn't very long. I didn't set them out for a bit because I just didn't want them to crack on this next step. So I'm going to risk it, sacrificing maybe a little bit of texture just so that I could get the conformity that I want in this. So this is going to be my main one. That's this guy here. So let me show you how I'm going to curve that around. So originally I did this, I just used my fingers and then I just pressed in here on foam. Now you can see it's kind of bowing out a little bit. Now one of the things you could do is if you have a ball, you could just roll the ball. And I think that's my texture is fine. So let me put it kind of in the form that I want it to go. So the thing that I was struggling with earlier is whether or not to taper this. So on these pieces, I did taper them down. I'm not going to do that ahead of time. I'm going to fit it to the piece. So I'm going to put it on and then just manually push in where I want to instead of cutting it ahead of time. So this is my largest piece here, and this is going to go inside along this, like that. So it looks like for me to do this step, I'm also going to need to prop it up a little bit to get it into the right spot. So to prop it up a little bit, I'm either going to use, oh I know, I'll just use this little piece of wood. That looks right. Yeah, so I think that'll work. And now it's just a matter of slip and score. I'm pressing the sides in just to create that tapered look that I want. And I need to take some of the excess off. I'm pinching it in towards the bottom here because I found that when I started pressing here, this would lift up. Well, so far so good. And now it's just a repeat to finish off the rest of these here. So here comes the moment of truth. This is when I try to fit everything on. It's a little bit tighter in the back. So I'm going to have to bring this in a little bit. Well, not bad. All right, so I'm done with my armadillo, and I'm somewhat happy with the results. I won't know for sure until it's out of the final firing. But what I will do is let this dry as it is in place, and then when it comes to firing, all these pieces separate. So I'll be taking off these sections and the tail, and the body with the head will stay in place. That will fire all separately in the bisque. And then when it comes time to glazing, I get to dip each of these in a different color and then just simply slot it in for firing, and the glaze will glue it onto the frame. And this part here will all just be a stain that goes on here. The only thing that will have glaze is probably the eyes. I like to have the black be a shiny black glaze. So that's it. Thanks for coming along on this journey of rediscovering how I did my armadillo.